Well, hello there. It's your friend, CW, reminding you to wash your damn hands and don't you dare touch your face. These guys, John and Gene, are about to launch a new episode of the Music Boost podcast with very special guests from the UK, Marisa and the Moths. They're so freaking good. And in case you didn't know, all the rest is bullshit. Unless you have a song, I gotta have more cowbell, baby.
Welcome to the Music Boost Podcast, your one-stop resource for success in the music industry, with your hosts, John Seymour and Gene Foley. And now, here's John and Gene.
Hey, Gene.
John, what's up?
What will you never say about a bass player?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
That's the bass player's Porsche. Hey there. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Music Boost podcast. I hope everybody is washing their hands and not touching their face, as our friend CW discussed in the beginning of the episode. Last episode, we hoped that was going to be the last of the quarantines. Sounds like it's going to go on for a little while, so I hope everybody is playing their instruments, writing songs. I think by the end of this, there's going to be a ton of great music out there because this is unprecedented. No one's ever really had this kind of time to just hunker in the bunker and just create. So I hope you all hold up your end of the bargain. Today's episode's a little different. We're going to start off with an interview with somebody that I think is going to be very helpful to you. He's got a lot of great advice on how to use social media and a lot of kind of inexpensive ways to market your band, promote your band, and keep your band relevant at all times. His name is Chad. He's from the band Stone Driver. He's a good dude, and he did not pay me to say that. So here we go. Here's Chad. All right. So, Chad, I'd like to welcome you to the show. Thanks for coming on the Music Boost. How are you, bud?
I'm doing great. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys.
We're happy to have you. And how you doing today, Gene?
Great, John. Looking forward to another great episode and excited to have Chad on as our guest this evening.
Yeah, we're really excited to have Chad on because Chad is doing what most of you guys should be doing out there. He is one of the best self-promoters that I have found in the indie music world. And a little over a year ago, Chad reached out to me to see if I might be interested in mixing his band's upcoming EP. The band was Stone Driver, and they're from the Washington, D.C. area. And as most people would do, as soon as I heard the name of the band, I started to do some homework and poking around the internet and seeing what was up. And I was pretty blown away by just their presence on the internet between Facebook and Instagram and their Spotify playlist and listens. Was really knocked out. And it was definitely, once I heard the music, it was just a no-brainer. I really wanted to work with these guys. So over the past year or so, we've talked a lot, and Chad knows how I feel about how they do things. So I thought he would be a great guest to have on the show. And so we're just going to have a nice conversation and try to pick Chad's brain a little bit here and see what makes them really separate themselves from the pack.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Well, that was quite the introduction. I, in kind of Wayne and Garth spirit, feel I'm not worthy. I'll be, the first to admit, I don't consider myself an expert by any stretch of the imagination with social media or being a musician for that matter. But I've been lucky to have been grinding long enough that I've had a lot of failures and I've had a couple successes that I've been able to kind of get my bearings straight from in the sense of what looks right for my band. And really appreciate the opportunity to be here and kind of share some of those trial by fire, what went wrong and what did I learn from it and kind of what's gone right that we've seen some successes with and learn from it too. So yeah, I
Awesome.
appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk about that.
So I think, just the nature of starting a band from scratch lends itself to the DIY thing. I think everybody starts out that way, right? You start off, you got one guy in the band that's probably got a little bit of artistic handiwork and he can do the flyers. And maybe you have one guy that's good at publicity and he can handle that. And then you have the guy that does sound down at the local VFW and maybe he can record you. So it's great that bands can do all this stuff on their own, but you kind of have to also know where to try to find the things that you're strong at, work those, but then know when to outsource things, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'd outsource more if we could, but it's kind of like you said, I'll put it more bluntly on my end. It's just know where your weaknesses are. And our biggest weakness, I mean, we have many, but our biggest one was, how do you put it all together? That is just as much, in my opinion, in art and in science, as writing the song or writing the music, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that we realized right off the bat that we did not have the experience in or the aptitude in to learn quickly. So being able to have the opportunity to outsource that was really the greatest return on investment that I could think of that we could do in that process and making the best record that we could, which was our goal.
So now, as far as your social media focus, where do you find you guys get the most return on the effort that you're putting into social media?
So it depends what we're putting it in towards. So our approach to social media has been, it's a tool, and a tool is only, what good is a hammer to you if you don't know what you're trying to build with it? So it's been very specific to what is it we're trying to either promote or to make happen. Like, what is the productive action that we're trying to create? Our go-to places are Instagram and Facebook, primarily Instagram. And that's not because we just happen to like it better. It seems to have the best response rate from our audience, gives us the best ability to reach, or easier ability to reach, newer audiences with it. And kind of is, the people who seem to like our music and like the band seem to gravitate towards Instagram. I would say for other bands, you might have to do some kind of poking and prodding with the different platforms out there, find what works for you. But certainly with Instagram, with the ability to have the Instagram stories where we're able to link in our, direct link to Spotify with our music, to do links to other websites. It integrates in with Shopify for all of our merchandise that we have. And the ability to get some really good post analytic or statistics that we can go through analytically and see, what's performing well, what's not performing well, what do we need to move around, how can we kind of like lean into harder the successes that we're having and kind of pull the throttle back on, kind of some dead ends that, hey, sounded great in the bat cave when we were thinking them up, but ultimately, it didn't work out. And that's okay. You learn from that and you shift focus and move on. But Instagram seems to be the best as far as total integration with both merchandise and music that we've been working with.
And then as far as your followers there, was that all grown just organically, or how did you cultivate that audience?
So it was a mix of organically, and we would use a lot of paid Instagram promotion. So Instagram gives you the opportunity to create your own audience that you want to market to. So it's just like television. You're buying, commercial slots, for a particular, program. Zoom from the 70s was talking with Gene about, during the interlude. And basically you're buying, little time slots where you're going to come up in someone's feed. who has, you get to choose, what that person looks like. I want to find someone between this, age demographic in these countries, who lists, modern rock, classic rock, blues rock, psych rock, etc., in their, favorites as things as they like. And I'm going to set a budget as far as what we, want to pay to have these pops in their feed. And ultimately, hopefully when you're doing something like that, it's what is it you expect to get in return for it? There's no point in getting like a ton of followers or, a ton of listens on Spotify if you're not making money from it. People can click like all day long until they're blue in the face, and that's great, but that doesn't make me any money. I want to sell albums. I want them to stream music. I want them to buy tickets. I want, to spread awareness of the band, so they like it and buy t-shirts. So it's when you tie the money you invest into promotion, it's important just from a business sense that you're balancing that out with, okay, what type of returns am I seeing from that in the social media world? I think, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of bands, and I know the temptation is there. People just want likes and they just want followers, and they'll pay money just to get that. And I think they'll realize, too late, or with money that could be much better spent in other places, that does not make you a viable band. That does not make you a solvent, earning band, so to say. If that's what you're about and that's what you want, more power to you. But, we want to, make a living out of this, or at least, put money back into, recording more songs and, getting more albums out there. And, so for us, it's important that it's not just the size and scope of the amount of followers or likes that we get, but what are the productive actions that are coming out of that? And we try to keep our eye on the ball on that, and certainly learn, okay, what were successful campaigns that we ran, promotional campaigns, what worked, what did not work, and go from there. And it's not just music, it's also shows. Did we sell the venue out before, 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, or did we not sell it out? What sort of different tacks or approaches can we use in promoting shows and kind of other things out there too? But for us, it's productive actions when we're dealing with social media or any sort of promotion. What is it's not a like, it's not a follow, although that's good if you're setting it up for future things. But at the end of the day, how are you converting that back into being successful as a band as you choose to define it?
Now, do you see as a return on that investment, is it more in the merch world, or are people downloading your songs at iTunes? It seems like now we're in this streaming world where people, you can go on Spotify and listen to anything that you want at any given time. So where's the incentive to actually purchase the music, right?
Yeah, so that's something to kind of give you a behind the scenes right now of what we're talking about with the band. So we just had our end of year Spotify results come out, and we had some good news and we had some bad news. The good news was that we grew our listeners by almost 200%, 100% as far as subscribers. I mean, we had some big gains from where we were the year before. And we had some good gains, the year before that. So we're having a steady increase in the streaming, which is, I guess good. We're at like 40,000 streams and 30,000 unique listeners, which is supposed to be a good split. The bad news is that every song stream you get is 0.0006 cents that you earn as a band from Spotify. So if you do the math real quick, in the old times when you couldn't stream music, 30,000 unique listens, let's just say that's 30,000 singles, right?
Yeah.
Listeners. Again, this isn't someone buying it and then playing it like 8 times. This is 30,000 unique listens. That's 30 grand, or half of that, that's 50. Yeah. It's not a ton of money. You're not, paying the rent on that, but you're sure as hell like you're getting a much better quality next album. You're taking some time off work where you can go tour, et cetera. So while we've seen a huge spike in the streaming of music, we have also seen a decrease in the buying of albums that we've had compared to our first album, where the streaming services were still kind of getting up and getting going. So I got a little bone to pick with the streaming world. I know it's probably not that popular, but we're trying to think of some creative ways that we can incentivize people to choose to buy our album instead of streaming it, with the opportunity or the potential of potentially not putting it out on Spotify or Apple Music too. Might significantly decrease the amount of people we reach, but could also significantly increase the amount of revenue we get and be able to reach people different ways.
Yeah. I mean, Gene and I talk about it all the time. It's the wild, wild west that we're living through right now, and everything's different, right? It used to be you needed a label to be heard anywhere. Now anybody can just release a record on a Saturday, and on Sunday somebody says, Alexa, play blah blah blah, and it's playing anywhere in the world.
You got to have the person saying, Alexa, play so and so.
Exactly. You got to have that. But just, the method of distribution has changed so dramatically that's amazing that anyone in the world can play my song that I recorded today, tomorrow, anywhere in the world. That's amazing. But how do you monetize that now? So I think we're at a place now where at least bands that are starting out, until they're well established, have to look at it like, this is a great way to get my music out there. Give it away. Basically, the music is free. Let me get as many listeners, as many fans as I can, and then we'll figure out how to monetize that later. Maybe it's touring, maybe it's merch, but it's a great thing just to be able to be heard by how many streams did you have last year?
I was over 40,000.
Over 40,000. I mean, that would have been unheard of for Gene and I back in 1986.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and again, I was venting. It's like you said, it is the Wild West. It is a change in the paradigm where people expect to get their music for free or for $10 a month and have access, to everything. It's then, how do you find ways, like you said, to monetize that, to build up the fan base, to get that reach until you can get a big enough kind of net, if you will, where you can offer things to folks. Some of the things that we've seen out there that people have started doing with, releasing things on Spotify and streaming services is, Patreon, as far as, are you familiar with that website at all?
Yes.
Yeah. So different kind of tiers of access, like, hey, we're going to, be recording rehearsals, or we're going to be live streaming shows, and you can, pay to get into like a professional live stream of a concert. We've seen some bigger bands doing that with, I think it's Sling Studio and kind of like different devices like that. Certainly merchandise in the digital age, used to be able, before, to pick up like, a vinyl record. You had something tangible you could put on your wall, or like a CD, or, what have you. Gene, I'm sure you had some like 4 tracks and whatnot.
Oh yeah, I used to play my music on rocks and stones, like the Flintstones.
Write the lyrics on stone tablets.
Exactly. And very heavy. A long album, 60 minutes of music, it weighed like 40 pounds.
Right. So the thing is, now that with everything, or so many things digital, how can people show off that they like a certain band? They want to, have that Black Sabbath album or whatnot. So certainly merchandise sales with T-shirts, or finding different things that, okay, you might as well, quote unquote, give the music away, but there are other things then that when you find people that you have this, fan base or audience base that follows you and is into what you do, then you can start marketing these secondary products to them, where you can get, some of that revenue back. And that's, the classic merchandise sales, et cetera.
Yep. Now, you guys have your own website, or do you just rely on Facebook and Instagram for most of your touch with the audience?
No, we have our own website, stonedriver.com. It's not updated as frequently as the other websites, just because it's a lot easier to do the social media ones. So we try to just make, anytime we have like an album release or there's a significant event going on, we'll certainly update the main website to reflect that. Our goal with that website is just to make it as simple and as easy as possible, for the user to come in and just land exactly where we want them to and see exactly what we want them to see. We don't want them going through, pages and pages and pages of stuff to find like, the t-shirt or the show or the album, or the vinyl record release that we're doing, kind of et cetera. It's just make it as simple and as easy as possible as you can to get the person from point A to point B.
Right, absolutely. I think the other thing I see now and then, at least a few times a month, someone will send me some links, and their videos will look great. Their online website, their online presence, their social media page, everything looks like, wow, this is very professional. Then you hear the music, and it's like, ooh, where everything else is a 10 and the music is a 4 or 5, and that's disappointing because it's like half the equation, but not the most important part. So anyone who's doing it yourself, if you're not going to work with producers or engineers or people who could really be subjective professional voices, to help take that song from your brain and your heart and get it on tape, so to speak, just make sure the song is great, because that's really almost the foundation of this podcast. And John will put in our catchphrase here.
Oh, yeah. Well,
John, what is it?
All the rest is bullshit. Unless you have a song.
Yep. So that's really anything you learn from any of these episodes. You got to have that, because, there's only so much smoke and mirrors and polish you could put on a crappy song. And after a while, the Twitter thing will only take you so far.
Lipstick on a pig.
Exactly.
A boat out of a bunch of bricks, you mean? Or
Yeah, that too. So one other thing I want to just touch on here is some bands will just forget about their social media for a while and just disappear. And then all of a sudden they'll post like 20 things. Do you guys have some pattern that you try to stick to where you're not annoying your audience by over posting, or you're not disappearing for too long of a time? Do you have any kind of rules as far as how you guys work that angle?
Yeah. So have rules. Yes. Always follow them. No. And that's the always follow them. No is something we got to work on. So we try to post no more than twice a week. And the reason why it's twice a week is because that's about as much unique, creative, and cool content that we feel we can put out without forcing it, or without just, here's a look, here's a picture of our dinner. Here's a selfie with us with little dog ears on, it's the, at least for us. And I would ask you guys, it's that balance of quantity versus quality. So we try to keep quality the most important. And then after quality, then it's more kind of like a consistency. People expect to see you once to twice a week posting something that's, observation, relevant, behind the scenes. Our rule,
funny.
Well, yeah, just look at me. Folks can't. Me with dog ears doing the selfie in front of my, dinner plate picture. That's always a popular Instagram post. No, it's what I've researched or what I've learned is that in the terms of user engagement, live stream always goes first as far as the top of people's feeds. Second is video. Third is, picture, and fourth is text. So anytime you can get any sort of live streaming or some video, something that's interactive that people can see, that is, at least according to the research that we've read and what we've seen on our own websites, that gets the most engagement from folks. But it just, you don't want to be, or at least, and I don't know, you guys can convince me otherwise, but I don't want to be that band that's just like posting every day, like, here is selfie number 1, selfie number 2, selfie number 3, and just, kind of the same old dribble. It's, you got to feel like if you want to have something to say that people are going to respond and, again, react and engage and retain. If I'm just putting out BS, or we're putting out BS, I think we're going to lose that interest and that retainment, that Gene was talking about. And,
and then you start to get unfollowed, right?
Yeah, you don't, I would unfollow us if we started taking pictures of dinners and dog self. I would unfollow our own account. Yeah. I don't know how I would do that, but I would find a way.
And now it's time for another edition of Reverb Nation Artist Spotlight.
So I'm going to gush a little bit now. I don't know if that's the word. Gush? Blush? I don't know. But this artist is one that absolutely stood out to both Gene and myself. We went through almost 3,000 artists to narrow this down to 24 that are on the show. And in my opinion, these guys are poised for greatness. They're great musicians. The songs are great. The productions are great. And I don't know. I can't say enough nice things about these guys. They're good people. We had a great chat with them. And as always, we hope that you guys will go to themusicboost.com after you listen to this episode. We always have links for all the artists that are on here, and we encourage you to go to their website, go to their socials, download their music, buy some merch, help them out. These guys are all working hard, and I got to tell you, these guys are special. So when you hear this, when you hear them on the radio in 6 months or a year, you heard it here first. Marisa and the Moths, here we go.
How's it going?
It's going great, man. Great to meet you guys. We're big fans.
Oh, thank you so much.
So where are you guys joining us from today?
We're actually in the studio where we record all our songs and do all our rehearsing. It's Jason, our drummer's studio. So
okay.
Yeah, we've just been writing and also doing some live arrangements for our upcoming tour.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty heavy.
Awesome. So that answers one of my questions. One of the things that stood out was your production was very strong. So is that because of Jason? Is that thanks to Jason?
I'll pat myself on the back.
He's so humble.
Yeah, no, the production is very tight. It's what I do for a living. I've been a producer, engineer, mixer for 25 plus years.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Those things stand out to me when I hear merging artists.
Yeah, no, it came out really, really well. We're really happy.
Yeah, it sounds so good. That's actually how we met as well, because when I was building the band, the band wasn't formed yet, but I found Jason for a friend, and then I was like, "Oh, would you mind stepping in on drums?" And then it sort of built from that, and everyone.
I did it as a session, and then Liam was doing it as a session musician as well, and then kind of grew into a proper band like that. I've worked with Sophie before and invited her down to do one solo on one song, and then somehow we became a band.
So that's how you got this like all-star lineup here. You guys are like a bunch of hired guns, and now you're like, now you're like the superhero band.
Yeah, hired moths. Yeah.
Right on. So tell us a little bit more then about how everything came together, where you guys have been over the last, I don't know, how long has the band been together? We'll start there.
2 years now?
Two and a bit, since, but I suppose, it wasn't until the January of 2018.
We were all...
true, since Christmas 2018. Yeah, so, and that's when we had recorded most of the songs already, but then we re-recorded them to sort of develop them as a band properly, you know.
We just kind of been in the studio for a lot of that time, up until kind of September.
Yeah, a good year and a half.
Just getting the album down, mixing it again and again and again.
Been there before.
It started off as the intention was for it to be like a 3-piece grunge band. And then by the time we added more guitarists and
the 3-piece turned into
a lot of silliness. Harmonized lead line.
We got greedy.
Ever since I searched you guys on YouTube, now I get a lot of your videos, Sophie. I see you.
Oh yeah.
You have like a fledgling solo thing going on over there too, right?
Yeah, it's very silly.
It's great though. It's great. I love we're both from New Jersey, Gene and I. So the Bon Jovi solo was particularly close to our hearts.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a really fun one to do, actually. I like that.
No big response online for that one.
I wonder why.
So Jason, I have to ask Jason. So I'm aside from being a producer, engineer, mixer, I'm also a musician too, and I absolutely dread recording myself. I have to have that technical part of my brain working at the same time as the creative side is. I'm terrible at multitasking, and that is like the worst multitask that I can think of. How is that experience for you?
Painful.
Yes. Okay. So we're on the same page.
Myself. That experience of actually having someone on the other side of the glass to tell you what to do and also to figure out what's going wrong. I would set up my own drums and like getting someone to sound check, even to hit the kit as hard as or in the way I was going to hit it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't sound the same. So I would record something and think I was happy with the part, go in and go, oh no, these settings are not right. Have to do it again because we effectively would have Liam or Marisa doing the
me trying to guide
hitting
you.
record.
Liam will go sound check and you get it. Everything's clipping.
Yeah,
beat the crap out of it.
There was so much guesswork involved, but having done it a few times, by the time it got to the sort of last batch of recording we did, we're more used to it, and I'm getting more used to hearing one side to the other side. But I much prefer being behind the glass.
Yeah, so it's not an ideal situation, but for you guys, I think it's a tremendous advantage that you have someone with your skill set to be able to do these recordings, because otherwise people end up, you got to raise a fortune and go into a studio and trust somebody else and spend a lot of money. So it has been
awesome.
It's been amazing.
Yeah. It just allowed us to, when you're not on so much of a deadline, really let you breathe with those songs and go, actually,
that wasn't right.
We went back and stuff and
be a lot more creative.
It's pretty much what we're doing right now with the acoustic ones. I recorded all the vocals for we're doing 3 stripped songs for our final release.
Okay.
And
final release.
I was like, I hate this. I have to do it. We'll do it again.
Vinyl, not final.
Yeah, final 3.
It's not final until it's out, right?
Well, the accents, yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so we re-recorded it, and no.
It's like we're perfectionists, but that's only because I guess we probably have the luxury of being like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing, and it comes across in your music, I think.
It does come. It is a good thing, but it does sometimes. Sometimes you just
it slows the schedule down a little bit.
You got it. It's done. It's done. Don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But we did finish it. We released it. It was a miracle.
Yeah, fuck you, right?
I don't believe that. I'm still getting over it.
But I think, as well, we were finding our sound as a band for the first time. And, because we did the whole recording it once as a 3-piece grunge band, which was what it was meant to be. And then it developed into something completely different. And, we wanted to make sure that we found our sound and that, we were presenting ourselves in a unique way and showed our personalities right. It was so important to get that first release, properly right, and just smack people in the face with
100%.
Just to understand who we were as a band, and then actually writing in the room today, it was like, no, we all understand each other, and we can all communicate so much better.
And we're all here from the start now, so
exactly.
We weren't me and Sophie weren't jumping on something that was already kind of created. We're starting it from a foundation of all of us having a creative influence from the beginning. So it's already. You can still tell it's our sound, but it's progressed.
Yeah.
I love the sound. You guys have that dark British melodic thing down, I think. Very reminiscent. Do you guys ever hear of a band called Cooper Temple Claws?
Yeah.
They were to me, they were that was a band that should have been so much. They should have been so much bigger than they were. But they had that same kind of dark melodic, angry thing that they do so well.
I really like that.
check them out if you haven't heard them. They're really cool. I think they're still doing stuff. I heard something recently. It wasn't quite like the old stuff, but 2005, 2008, they were kind of in the zone that you guys were in.
Cool. Oh, awesome. Let's check them out. Apparently they're from Reading as well, which is where we say we're from. Well, I am from Reading, so is Liam, and like that's where the project began. The rest of the guys are kind of, well, Sophie and Jason more towards London way.
We keep it simple.
So Americans, there's only...
We're from the UK.
You're from that island over there, yeah.
Yeah, my little island.
So logistically, is that a problem for you guys? How often do you get together to rehearse and write and all that stuff?
It's more about people's schedules, I think, than anything, because we all put this time and the effort into to meet up. It's just like, making sure, but we all have to work around this to survive, kind of thing. And it's an expensive industry. My life is expensive, so we try to support each other as much as we can, and then
the focus changes. So Marisa and I have been getting together a lot more to do the recording for this final release.
And in general, it's like the band, because I do the management side of it, it's pretty much like my full-time job. And I spend a lot of time with Jason, like he's taken the job of doing like the adverts and stuff. So we work together, and I'll sort of tell him what I'm doing with social media, and then he helps with that. So
it's all behind the scenes, boring stuff. But we try and get together as much as possible. I think you always want to do more. You always want to get together more. You never feel like it's enough. But
today has been great.
It reminds you how much you miss it, and you want to. And I think we've fun. Until we sometimes get distracted, but we seem to use the time properly.
Well, like you said, we're in the studio for such a long time, and it did get to a bit of like, oh god, we're doing the same thing. But
Groundhog Day,
now we've got like the big job of the main release, like getting out. We've got the flow of it going, and we've got tour coming up, and that's all been sorted.
And we're
it's
really
back to having fun again, writing and rehearsing and just being a band, which.
We're really comfortable live now as well.
Yeah,
something we did a first tour and we learned so much from it, and now going out and playing shows, it just feels right and it feels comfortable.
Yeah, people respond to us like now they see us as a unit more, and how each of us have really come out and are showing our own characters, but how there's an energy. Like people would say that there's like a really distinctive energy about us, which is really cool. But we didn't have that at first. We really didn't.
No, we saw a video when first.
We did. Oh, I'm so cringe. What was I wearing as well?
We have 5 people on stage who barely look at each other, like looking at our guitars, being terrified, like proper shoegazy and that. Like, it's painful to watch. It's painful to watch, but we had to do it.
It's nice to see
it's
how
journey,
much
isn't
progress.
Yeah. Hopefully we keep progressing.
Hopefully we're not as shit now.
No, I saw. We do our homework here, so we've seen a lot of your, live footage and stuff, and it looks like you guys are really, you're becoming a well-oiled machine. I think at this point.
Sometimes you just want to wipe, go pre this time and wipe it all off.
Just delete everything before you're comfortable.
Yeah, you never can, but hey, that's the age we live in, right?
That was the
absolutely.
It's got to go.
You've accomplished so much, and your sound is so polished. It sounds like a band that's been together for 10 years because there's so much talent in the band and so much talent in the studio that I think you get that, like what someone else would have to take 10 years to do, you've done in 2 or whatever. What advice would you give? Because a lot of the people who tune in are, up and coming people who are not to the level you are. What are a couple of things maybe you could give a tip to someone else?
Well, the guys will probably agree with this one. Say that, I don't know. I think I've probably been quite pushy from the start of we don't do anything unless it's really good, and we put our all into everything. And if it's not right, do it again. And I don't know, you just got to work so hard, and you've got to believe in what you're doing and just be devoted to it. People respond to that, for one, but it's an impossible thing to make a band successful. So if you want to achieve the impossible, you got to do the impossible, right? And we all worked so hard, and we've worked so hard and put everything into it. And it's been very frustrating at times, but I don't know, just don't accept second best. There's a lot of bedroom bands and that and not to say that's not a good way to go. I mean, in some cases, for example, Billie Eilish, who recorded everything in a bedroom with her brother, that has worked really well. Not that they didn't get it mastered by super professionals or anything, but the point being is that if you want to stand out, then you've got to make a good product, right? And that was the sort of.
I would say don't be afraid to rework your ideas. So get an initial kind of sketch of your song, and then really we sat for a long time really considering parts, thinking about parts, trying out new stuff.
Yeah.
And eventually sort of came to the conclusion, okay, this is what works best for the melodies and that kind of stuff.
You also have to be comfortable with people, with each other enough that you can tell people when it's bad.
Yeah.
When something's bad. Like it's so hard when you're in a studio, you're all trying to be friendly with each other, and someone plays something and you kind of go along with it for ages. And if you can just be from the start and go, hey, I don't like that, don't take it personally, but we've got to get this good.
Yeah.
We need the best thing.
That was something.
Sometimes
that's something I had to get used to a lot, because most of the stuff I put in there, it wasn't that it was bad. It was just because I wasn't used to playing this style, so it was too proggy or too rock. But Marisa would be like, no, I don't like it. So,
it's not personal. You got to get over it.
I'm just painfully honest.
Yeah.
It can be a bit brutal at times.
Yeah. you got to be friends enough to take it on the chin and go, hey, yeah, you got to do better. You got to work.
But then that's just one idea, and then like that makes you throw out other ideas, and then some idea sticks, and it sticks with everyone. And at that point, you're like, okay, well, that's it.
And that's how you grow as well.
Just being friends and having fun.
But it's also, you guys are in kind of a unique situation, because that's almost like, traditionally that would be, you would have a producer telling you all that stuff. And you guys to have to do that from within is a different dynamic, I think.
It is. Yeah, it can be. Yeah, difficult sometimes.
Well, I mean, moments of like amazing moments where you just like, you're all like on the same wavelength. It's like, yes, that, and everyone's like, we had that today.
Yeah.
But even then, it took a while to get there.
Cool.
Yeah, but we did get there, and it was worth it in the end. But yeah, I think advice is just be prepared that it's going to be difficult, and you have to take some things on the chin, kind of leave your ego at the door. Expect that not everyone's going to like everything you've got to give. But if you just keep working on an idea and communicate, because that's another huge thing. I think I struggled with that at the beginning. Me and Marisa struggled to communicate a lot of the time, but we're getting better now. So
we'll shift gears a little bit then. One of my questions that we always ask the artists is, how often do you guys gig? Are you doing a tour? Are you planning on doing a tour? I think you mentioned that earlier, that you have a tour planned out coming up.
So we did like 2 kind of smallish tours when the album first came out. And at the time, I'd teamed up with a booking agent, and I sort of found some of the shows myself, and he found some others, and we sort of put it together. But it didn't go as well as like we'd hoped in terms of like the promotion and things. So we decided to take control of it ourselves as we sort of learned more about social media and how to reach more people and stuff. So yeah, I've booked it for us kind of, and we've got
Marisa
17 shows. 17?
Yeah, Marisa plans this entire tour that's coming up, including booking all the accommodation and dealing with all the venues directly. And
we're taking 2 support acts out with us as well for a massive challenge. So
it's going to be really good.
Yeah,
it's going to be big. We're looking. Yeah, it's like we feel like it's our like real like tour when we go out and really show what we're made of.
Yeah,
kind of.
Oh, that's awesome.
We've found ourselves more now, haven't we, as well, through doing the smaller ones? Which
exactly. You need that.
Take some fans along the way as well.
You need to play the venues with 2 people in, and the bar staff hating everything, and bad sound.
Yeah, you need to go through that to learn, don't you? And sort of.
I appreciate when it's really good then, but some of the places we're going back to, because we know we'll get the people in kind of thing, they've asked us to go back, and we're going to some new places as well. And we've picked our own supports, which I think is really important, because there are so many good bands in the UK right now, but unfortunately a lot of promoters and things will just be like, oh, they kind of look the same, or they're kind of in the same genre, we'll just chuck them on the same lineup, and then a night it doesn't flow as well as it could do. But
we want an audience to appreciate an entire night, not just a headliner.
And we want to support bands that we're friends with as well, that will work well with us. So that's kind of our approach with it this time. So we want to put on a really good show all around.
And where are you guys planning on going? Is it just a UK tour? Are you going around Europe?
All UK.
Yeah, this time we're UK. But we've had some requests to go to Europe, but like it's a money thing really at the moment. We put a lot into our doing music videos and things like that, and advertisement and things. So yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, Gene and I have no doubt that you're going to get there, and I expect to see you on like the big festival stages in not too long.
Oh,
you guys have a ton of festivals over there. Are they supportive of emerging artists? Did they have like a side stage that you can?
Well, we won a competition on Reverb Nation actually to play 2000 Trees, which is a kind of a mid-sized festival in the UK. But
It's rock, isn't it?
It's a rock festival, and Jimmy Eat World are headlining. So it's a pretty big festival. We're stoked on that one.
Yeah.
There's definitely stages for upcomers, which is great. It's difficult. Like, we're from Reading, and the Reading Festival is obviously a big festival.
We're trying to do that.
Yeah, but that's changed over the years. It used to be Reading Rock Festival. It used to be, and now it's certainly
EDM or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. But I suppose that's the business as it is. But that's what we all grew up doing: going to festivals, sticking in the mud, loving those times, watching those bands, wanting to do it.
Yeah, I haven't been to a festival yet, because I always said that the first festival I'd go to was the one that I'd play at. So here we go.
So you're holding out.
It wasn't really the way I planned it when I was little. It was either didn't have the money to go, or I didn't have anyone to go with.
This is so sad.
So then when people go, "Oh, you're a musician, we know middle of festival," I came up with, "Yeah, I'm not going until I'm playing it." Yeah.
That's right. It's not because I didn't have any friends. It's fine.
It's like real friends.
Right, I don't know the friends now.
But no, that's the dream. That's why we do this. Like those gigs, going to festivals.
You're right, free festivals.
Yeah, free. That's all we want, man. We just want the free tickets. We don't want to pay £200, $300.
No, you guys will be there in no time. I have no doubt.
Thank you for your lovely words. And faith.
So we talked about where you guys have come from. Now, like, looking ahead, where do you guys envision yourselves in say the next year, 2, 3 years?
Well, tour, no.
Yeah, playing shows.
I reckon playing. I'm thinking main stage with a big festival.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Hey, as long as we're still playing and playing in front of people, I think we're all we just want to play in front of as many people as possible, get as many people to hear it.
Yeah.
I think we're doing
as well, though.
start writing the second album. Play in front of people. That's what we want.
Second album, expand where we're touring to. I would like to. A little bit worrying about what's happening with Europe and Brexit and all that stuff.
Yeah. We can go for that. Hopefully it doesn't ruin everything for touring musicians like they are sort of saying it will do. Could be scaremongering or that.
There's a lot of that going on around the world right now, unfortunately. But
yes,
but we'll survive.
Let's keep loving, man. Keep loving.
Yeah.
It's always been expensive for Brits to get out to the US to tour. So, that's not really going to change. We're just hoping that we can cross that kind of barrier to be able to do it.
Absolutely.
Money.
We have to get you guys over here, so we're gonna try to work on that too for you.
Yes,
that's what we're here for. The music boost. We're gonna try to boost you guys over here and shine a light on you.
Right.
People that might not have heard of you are gonna hear about you now.
Thank you. All of it helps, really appreciate it.
Every little bit helps. Yep.
Yeah.
You guys, you said you won another contest on Reverb Nation. So Reverb Nation's been something that's been really good for you guys, yeah?
Surprisingly, we didn't think it would be. It was just like, you sign up to everything, don't you? Like, well, we better have a Bandcamp and all of the other things. And Reverb Nation has been
come through for us a couple of times,
pretty pleased. We're glad we met you.
Yeah, exactly. It's been good for us, to meet people like you guys.
Yeah, the internet's an incredible thing, though. I didn't think that, speaking of Bandcamp as well, I didn't think that would be that beneficial to us. We only actually set it up because a fan said to me, "Oh, we really want to be able to download the high-res WAV versions of your songs as well, and you can do that through Bandcamp." So, I was, okay, we'll put it up there. They take a cut, but at least it gives our fans
a cut, but it's a smaller cut than most of the other outlets.
And also it's like people find your music just because they're on Bandcamp. So we've had people from all over the world buying our CD and stuff as a result, and that's insane. That wouldn't have happened, if it wasn't for the internet being the way it is nowadays. So
that's definitely some positives, but along with the negatives.
That's always the way it is, isn't it? Same with Spotify.
Gene and I talk about it all the time. It's you hear a lot of people complaining, oh, the music industry isn't what it used to be, and the labels aren't throwing money around and all that. But really, has there ever been a better time to be a musician? You can record a song on a Friday, mix it on a Saturday, release it on a Sunday everywhere in the world. And the trick is really just, how do you separate yourself from all the other stuff? That's just the hard part.
That was it. We did the album ourselves, and we spoke to all kinds of industry, and I got some feedback from people saying, well, basically the rock industry in the UK is dead.
That's not
was
true,
the
though.
Direct feedback, and I think we're kind of proving that it's not true, and there's a vibrant scene out there.
And it's not just us, it's other bands too, like rock. People want rock music again. I really think it's coming back hard.
I think a lot of labels are ignoring this stuff, ignoring the market, and as ever, independent labels change markets. But now you don't even need an independent label. You can literally go out there and do it yourselves.
Yeah. Yep.
So many sort of indie distribution options that you have. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I say PR is the one thing that, like I say to anyone releasing on their own, you definitely need it.
If you're doing an album, yeah.
Definitely, because it's helped us in a sense. Like, obviously, we've met you through Reverb Nation, but we've got on a lot of different radios and little magazines and things like here and there, which has just kind of kept the machine going and like helped us be able to like say, oh, we've been shared on this today and played on this today, and we haven't had to do that outreach ourselves. So it's given us more time to share stuff on our own social media platforms, which is obviously important as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's reached a wider network of people as well on top of our own promotion. So that is super helpful. But
it helped to open a few doors, definitely. And the more doors you open, the easier it is to open
like
more doors.
Kerrang! We got featured in Kerrang!
I saw that. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah,
legendary.
Yeah, I was actually like, oh my God. I used to get this all the time as a kid. I had all posts everywhere. We were so excited about it. And so we got played on Fresh Blood once, and then got played on it again, and then featured in the magazine. So, and someone came and did a live review of our latest gig that we did as well. So that wouldn't have happened without the PR connections. So.
Classic Rock magazine as well. So
Classic Rock,
Planet Rock, yeah.
The Classic Rock are doing a High Hopes feature on us as well. So we'll have like our own full page spread, like talking about the band. So
it's exciting.
It is. Very exciting.
Sophie, John and I also, before we were on this side of the desk 20, 30 years ago, we were both guitar players. So we discovered your videos too. And after watching you play, I'm just going to leave mine in the closet because what's the point?
No,
never.
You have to play.
You're just too good. You're too good. What is it? I don't know who you're channeling, but something's going on there. Wow.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's a secret. Sold my soul to the devil. That's all I do.
There's a pentagram beneath her.
It really is like an all-star band. Like every one of you are great at what you do. And John really, it's like, what did you say, John, the superhero band?
Yeah, it's like a Marvel Comics movie or something.
Yeah, that's a music video.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a great idea.
There you go.
Different Spider-Man.
That's what I'm here for.
John will make a cameo as Wonder Woman.
Hey, easy. If you guys could do a musical collaboration with any artist, who would that be?
Oh, I have a few in mind.
Yeah, I think we might all pick each pick different people.
Yeah.
Well, do it from each then.
Yeah. One each.
Slash.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That is pretty good.
I thought so.
Oh.
Who's that?
Suri's having fun.
That's so weird.
It's England. It's haunted.
It's the government.
I don't know. A lot of the time, I'm just like, if I got to share the stage with one of like the biggest singers that like inspired me, like personally, like Skin from Skunk and Nancy, like I think she's awesome. But then, I feel that way about Amy Lee and Hayley Williams and so many other women. I think as well, because I'm like, oh, I could harmonize and we could do like a cool duet thing. But I guess the rest of the guys like, I don't want to play with a guitarist. Like, I would like to have a drum off with the guy from Perfect Circle or something, him.
I think there's we've all got a lot of which probably you can hear like a lot of 90s alternative kind of influences and then heavy guitar stuff. I think just some of those bands, like for me, like Pearl Jam, and like that, a lot of that kind of alternative grunge scene, like all of that stuff. But like those are just legends and still rocking it. So I think like working or gigging with those people would be incredible.
Yeah, next level.
And what was
that?
Nancy.
Duncan Actions. We'd love to support them. Or Hellstorm.
Hellstorm.
Yeah, we were compared to them. Or Foo Fighters. Oh my God.
Oh, Foo Fighters. I mean, You're terrified to drum after that, though.
You've got a sort of tangent here, but yeah.
So many people. We have a very eclectic taste in music.
Awesome. Well, listen, it's been great chatting with you guys today. Thanks for joining us on here. We really appreciate it. We're big fans, and we're going to follow you guys from across the pond here, and just all the best and continued success for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time, and I'm sorry it took a while for us to find a time that we could both meet. But
it's all good. We made it happen.
Yeah.
Really awesome, guys.
Great to see you guys, and have a wonderful day.
Yeah, have a good
Bye, guys. Good luck.
Thanks for tuning in to the Music Boost Podcast. Please visit us at themusicboost.com for additional resources, show notes, contact info, and other features. Until next time, just remember, it's all bullshit unless you have a song.